class time, Ruby. Sit up straight. Cross your legs. Draw your spine up tall. Start cultivating a intentional relationship between not just an observational relationship, but intent. Put your will into this, to sitting equally and evenly on those buttock bones. So the will starts up here in the head, but it is projected to the place you wish to exercise your will. So from the center of the will, put your buttock bones into the floor. And another way of putting that is to project your will into not the floor, but into the buttock bones. Like the buttock bones, those top thighs have will. Make them go to the floor. Draw your spine, join your palms. Connect the will of the mind to the will of the body. And sit straight. Connect it in this way. Pay homage to your practice. Pay homage to the lineage of teachers, reaching back to that root teacher, Patanjali, who himself understood this practice taught by the most ancient yogis. Bow to this practice and those teachers. Release your hands, raise your head, open your eyes, stretch your legs, spread your toes. So I'm going to just announce, per our previous conversations, I'm 65, going on 66. And if you look at my feet from the sole side, it took me till I was, 36, 37 for anybody to be able to see my fourth toe from this side of my foot. It was always obscured, right? So I'm telling you, it took something like 10 years and a couple of revelations to figure out how to connect to that foot and move those toes. Stretch your legs, not so simple. Come out. Toes together, knees apart. I'm gonna mute people. Somebody's getting messages and we're hearing about it. I'm also gonna spotlight myself because That's what we do. And I myself am going back to gallery view, so I see you. Virasana, toes together, knees apart, stretch your shins. Protect your knees however you may need to. With blankets, with ropes. Sit. We're going to take the quartet. Virasana, Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and we're walking back to Uttanasana, just so you know what's happening. So sit here, Virasana, with whatever suits you as knee, calf, whatever protection. Make your shins seek the ground. Thighs, ground. Lengthen them.
Devon,
extend. Yes.
Excuse, what do I do when like the tops of my feet are what really hurt?
You see me, you watching? Here's a blanket that's width is about the length of my shin. You could have two if you're really stiff, but basically elevate the entire shin bone, not your foot. See how my foot's hanging up?
Right. Okay, thank you.
Elevate the shin and sit.
Thank you.
If you put your foot on top, you wreck the effect. You need a little more space in the ankle. So you back up till it suits you. So you can, this is important, so you can actually settle. You have to get a pose where you can actually practice yoga instead of just fight with posture. So now stretch your arms up briefly. Urdhva Hastasana, interlock Padanguliyasana. And lift those ribs, keep your shins stretching. Make this arm firm, drawing that triceps in. Keep the inner shoulder soft, the outer firm. As we talked a lot about yesterday, push through those forearms, the extremities. And then release the arms and you fold forward, Adho Mukha Virasana. Arms forward. As much as you stretch the shins, lengthen the thighs, you're stretching your forearms and drawing the upper arm long away from those forearms to the shoulder. Rest your head. So that arm is, the cat did the same thing. The arm is spreading, stretching in both directions. So you are pushing the forearm forward on the floor. And the upper arm is staying anchored in the shoulder socket. And through that, the inner shoulder and shoulder blade anchor more to the back, less to the skull. And now you can move your ribs forward. Keep connecting your will, your decisions, your will, your will to act, connected to your hands and feet. Now you come up on the hands and knees and set up for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So in theory, you've got the right distance. You just rise up, reset that pose, stretching the forearms, drawing back through the upper arm, and up you go. Heels up. The lift of the hips can be distracting in this sense, distracting to the foot. When you lift the hips, you lose track of the ground. So move again, with your mind, will, push into those feet, stretch into those feet. I'm saying this in a way that should make you act partially muscularly in the lower leg and the foot, but the root of that action is the head. So there is a connectivity. Connect your mind to your shin, to your foot. And draw the thigh to the hip socket. There is a mind-body connection. The body does not act just randomly. Press the forearms forward, draw the upper arms back. Release that inner shoulder, push back through the ribs. From the lift of that top thigh, pull back. Take your thighs back, heels back toward the floor. Now, slowly, I mean, it should take you 30 seconds to slowly, by stages, walk your hands back 6 inches and pull your feet. Walk your hands 6 inches more, breathe, connect, pull your heels down. Walk your hands back, walk toward Uttanasana by small steps, pausing to reconnect to the feet and legs and arms. Now you're finally in Uttanasana. Go back there, Kathy Lindauer. Back to Uttanasana. Stretch your legs, of course. The legs keep their intent. Right? Do you see how the will leaves the leg when we're distracted or when things get difficult? Keep projecting the will. And guess what? The will connects to those feet by means of not just the nervous system, but the breath. Inhale, come up. So you get a little break, then you get to do dog pose again. And we're going to work on that connectivity some. So what I'm going to show you is a little more internal, but you'll just see it. You get up in, I mean, you won't see it, but you'll see the basic shape. I'm going to go up into this pose, already connecting my will to my legs and arms by means of exhaling. Once I'm up, I vary the breath. I increase the volume, velocity, in order to push my attention to my feet, in order to connect. So I'm asking you to go up in dog pose, use your exhalation. Once you're in dog pose, connect your breath to your feet. Go. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Connect your breath to your hands. I'm speaking physical sensations. Exhaling to the hand. Inhale, what do the muscles do? Exhale again, inhale as you come up in the pose. Watch with your exhalation, inhalation, how you are connecting. Now, stand those feet on the floor, stretch the leg up away, and begin. Don't suspend the breath just yet. Don't ignore the breath. Go more deeply to work. You want to find that spreading of the foot. Exhale. if the foot is not responding well, see if you can take deeper, sharper, a little more velocity, a little more power in that breath. And in the push that you're making from mind to foot, change the breath to change your response. Deeper breaths, longer breaths, maybe sharper breaths, meaning you're more focused with that breath. Observe the change in the relationship between your mind and your legs and the floor, legs and the ground. Now, once again, walk back with the hands to Uttanasana. Keep the legs straight. When you get in trouble, change your breathing. And from the breath, change your will and your connectivity to the floor. Push back all the way to Uttanasana. So you don't have to hyperventilate to change elements of the breath, hyper or hypoventilate. What you have to do is connect. Now, inhale, come up, keep your legs straight. Okay, so let's go after first Trikonasana just because it's simple, but do take a chair. No blankets, a chair. So the chair, just so you see how my foot is underneath the chair seat. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. So that your hand can come down in a Trikonasana-like alignment. And if you're more flexible, you can go to your elbow. And if you see that, that's very much like a low brick. So you have a lot of more opportunities with chair support. Turn your feet parallel. Now establish a relationship between your feet and the floor using your breath as the connector. You rolling to the outer heel. There's the tendency. So you need to establish that inner heel. Use your breath as you stretch that leg. Use your exhalation so it is not an action in isolation. Likewise, stretch the arms. Raise the arms. Turn to the right, one thing at a time. Left foot, right leg. Now, before you bend the hips, seek the ground. Interact with that breath. Evenly in the front foot, evenly in the back foot. Pull your thigh bones up to the hip sockets without losing the feet. In fact, connected to the foot. Exhaling, lift that thigh as you ground the foot. Bend from the hip sockets, come out to the chair. Once the arms are in position, stretch those arms Should have happened before, but I'm saying it now. Push your right foot into the floor. Pull your outer right thigh away. Open across the chest. So look, if you can go farther, just take your arm out farther so you can stretch. And from the extremities, connected to the breath, you come up. So you do not hold your breath and pull from the extremities. You connect it. Take your chair, or if you have a second chair, go to side 2. Be symmetrical with your feet. So you have to use the legs in such a way that you can breathe. That's its own study. And it's what we're getting at here. Get that foot into the floor. Pull the outer thigh to the hip socket. That leaves the groins and the pelvis free to breathe and connect. Stretch your arms. Go to the left. Stay vertical for a bit in the trunk and establish those legs. Your forward leg in this pose, your left leg. For many of us, that left leg rolls out. That's the way we turn. You fix that. Get your whole foot on the floor. Get all of those pointing forward. Get this inner edge of the foot forward. I have to line my feet up better. Okay. Then you can start seeing. Now this calf has to compact to push into that floor, and you pull your top thigh up away to the hip socket. Keep the groins free. Both legs do this as you bend from your hips and come to your chair seat. Straight arms, reaching the same way the legs do. Go to your chair. Take Trikonasana. Now, the body gets distracted by the movement of the arms, so reestablish the legs. The more you practice, the less that happens. Drive the breath more thoroughly through those legs and feet. Correct that issue with the knee. Turn the top thigh. Push the big toe and inner heel into the floor. Stretch your arms from the extremities. Open that chest. Lift that chest. And again, connect your breath to what you're doing. And then connect it again to those extremities. Inhale, come up. Turn the feet, bring the feet together. Now, we have to explore Parshvottanasana, so I'm turning the camera down so you can see a front foot. Oops. There. Okay. So you need to get yourself where you can, if you see this, you can, if I stand up, you can't see me, but you can see from here, I hope, that the hips are square. They are, I don't know if you can see if they're turned or if they're square. This is turned, this is square. Turned, square. If I back up, you might get a better view of the whole picture. I just want a close-up of my foot is all. That might work. You see everything from the side. If I'm crooked, if I'm square. Yes, crooked, square. So you need to get bricks better yet, I'm going to stay without a chair, but it is better for you guys to get a chair so you can see your foot. It's not hidden under the chair, it's totally visible, but you're high up where you've got room to maneuver. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of a chair, but you use a chair. I'm getting where you can see. Now, I would love to see your feet too, but that's probably not possible. So it's the honor system here. I can't do much correcting. Okay, so have a look. Your right foot, let me get it as close as I can. Your right foot faces forward. And by the way, this is my left foot and it's my weird foot. So come and watch for a second so you see what happens. This is important, very important. First thing you do is you line up the inner edge of your foot and be scrupulously honest about it, okay? So what you're actually, let me, do you see this floorboard right here? There's a floorboard. You want the center of your foot to line up on that floorboard, not the inner foot exactly. Do you see how that makes my foot turn out slightly? You want that foot centered, okay? And you center it from the base joint between the second and third toe. That is the middle of the base joint. Doesn't matter what direction your toes point. Got that? It's from here on the foot, this part, not the toes, okay? And the center of the heel, okay? You have that. Now, you gotta think my ankle and my knee and my hip have to line up with that center. You see how my toes go sideways. That's important and it's gonna change. So having this set up, reach forward through the big toe, reach back through the inner heel. You're making the inner foot as long as possible. Your attention circles around the heel. And I mean that you've got to move your mind and your will around the perimeter of that heel. And that horseshoe has to be even on the floor, not heavy on the outside. It's got to be even. And from there, look at my toes. See how funny they're getting, but it's okay. From here, I start stretching forward through the little toe. Now, to stretch forward, I have to have weight on the floor. So I've got to push. Look, the toes start changing. They start actually extending. And then I pull this outer calf in. And I draw this outer thigh up to the hip. And I do not know if you see it, but there is, I could put a piece of paper in between my third and fourth toe. This is a first. This is, very hard work. I don't know if you see it, but I'm dripping sweat. Okay, you've got to push through those toes equally into the ground and pull your thigh up away. And the toes start bending less. Now, if I'm not talking and I'm doing my own practice, I can straighten them more. You go This is hard. Get onto your chair. Line your foot up exactly centered. You need an objective starting place. Fold forward, take your hands to the chair, adjust the distance between your feet, position of chair so you can have a very clear view of your foot, no obstruction. Now you've got to project your senses and your will through your breath. You've got to first figure out where you are in space. Put that foot evenly on the floor. Push the big toe base joint. And then the length of the big toe forward. Try to grow your big toenail forward. Stretch the inner heel back away from there. Circle around the perimeter of the heel and absolutely balance the contact on the perimeter of the heel. Another way of putting it that I think is harder to do is center that heel bone. I'd say go through the skin and that flesh. Now push from the outer heel to the little toe so that you feel both the big and little toes running in two parallel lines forward. And now it'll go better for you if you pull that outer calf up to the outer knee and push the little toe forward away from it. The little toe goes forward, the outer calf cuts in. And now you can push through the big toe better. Pull the outer thigh up to the hip. Bring it into a straight line, middle foot, middle ankle, middle knee, hip joint, and push all those toes forward, heel down, heel into the floor. All 5 toes stretching forward, outer thigh back. Push right through the extremities. Use your inhalation and exhalation to come up. Stand forward. Did your foot learn anything? Side 2. Did you sweat? Something like as much as I might. If you've got the AC on, you're not going to sweat. Left foot. Line it up. Use your floorboards, use your imagination. Be straight. If you let your heel hook in, this is what I mean when you like roll to. When you roll to the outer ankle, the heel hooks in. All the weight goes here, right? That's how most of us are in the front leg. You have to fix that. You have to bring the weight onto that inner heel. See, it looks better on the good foot. Go. Hip square. Pull that outer left hip back, Kathy, that's it. And don't lose your brain there in the foot. Push through those legs, stretch your knees. Legs straight. Connect into that foot. Senses through the breath. Will through the breath. Push the big toe base joint. Then stretch back to the inner heel. Circle around the circumference of the heel and put the weight evenly on the floor. You see already the whole leg has to change in response. And then from that heel, especially the outer heel, stretch forward to the little toe. And then bring up that outer calf and bring it in so the shin bone gets in line. Pull up to the outer hip, use that quad muscle, outer thigh muscle, plug it into the hip socket, stretch it, all that upward action, put your mind back into the foot, push on that foot, get all 5 toes going forward. Look at your foot. If your toe knuckles are white or losing circulation, right? They're getting squeezed looking, unsqueeze them, lengthen them on the floor, ground that foot, draw the thigh up away. Yeah, you see, it makes you want to take a forward bend. Now, connect to those legs. Inhale, come up. Good, Kathy, they stayed straight. Yay. Okay. So one long Parshvottanasana. Then we're going to repeat this and take a short one and see if you can repeat it. And as my teacher Ramanan says, give up some of the unnecessary effort so you make it a little cleaner action. You okay, Karen? Do you have a question?
Just for clarification, so on the inner foot, the heel pulls back and the toe pulls forward, so we lengthen.
Actually, the whole foot is very long. So even in the setup on the floor, this is the floor, you are stretching that foot in all dimensions. You are really trying to expand the foot right at the beginning as well as you can. And if you do it well, the changes are mostly in the leg, right? But yeah, okay. You want that foot long.
And the outer foot, there is a direction from the outer heel toward the little toe, right?
Yes, but the outer heel doesn't move forward. It's from there you stretch forward. The heel is
okay, you use it as a fixed point to stretch forward.
Yes,
okay.
The heel as a whole is a fixed point.
Okay.
Okay, once you get that inner heel back, it stays there. And the big toe stretches forward. Once you go round and get the outer heel established, you stretch forward to the little, from here, you stretch, not including. That would be like from the buttock bone push. Your foot goes to the floor. Heel to the floor, to the ground. So now, again, Parshvottanasana with bricks, without. And you may take support with your hands, or you may take the more intensive version of the pose where the hands stay on the hips, or the hands go behind the back. So you can work with the chair, or you can take more pose. Parshvottanasana without using the chair, just in falls, going all the way into a forward bend. It is a very leggy pose. So you may use support with the arms or use pure leg. Stretch those legs. Keep your feet lined up. Outer calf into the hip. So this leg setup comes first before you fold forward. And it might intensify as you fold forward. Now go as deeply into the forward bend as you can, taking your head toward your foot or toward the floor ahead of your foot instead of going to your knee. Use the breath. And once again, don't be distracted by the upper body movement. You must keep that attention, that will, anchored into the feet, to the ground. This is do you not feel how when you do that, it changes the nervous system too, not just the legs into the floor? Come out, change sides. When you lose the connectivity, the foot has to like fight for itself. And it's not connected, and it can overreact, can underreact, because it is not connected. Putting it another way, because it is not connected, it is reactive instead of stable. Go forward, take your pose. Extend forward. This is kind of important philosophically as well as very practically in this, trying to make your way through a physical action. Is that if you're unconnected, you are reactive. That reactive consciousness is not a stable consciousness. Keep yourself connected. Inhale, come up. Are you muting? Unmuting? Okay, it's not happening yet. Gay wants to say something.
Could you just say
Oh.
anything about the back foot?
Oh, okay, exactly the same thing.
Okay. And is it
Exactly. And I will tell you, it is super easy to stretch the inner foot of the back leg. And it is super difficult to stretch the outer foot of the back leg and to get the outer calf in, to get the actions in the back leg. You'll see everybody's got their problems with the front. Sometimes the outer foot hasn't the clue. Sometimes you can't get weight to the inner heel. It won't. A lot of people have trouble putting the weight on the inner heel of the front leg. And right, and just characteristically, people have their habits. You see your habits, but the work is absolutely even contact, even grounding.
Thank you. And where is it positioned?
Well, that may vary, but classically speaking, the see dancer's position, your either heels are lined up or the heel with the arch. I would say for people with wider hips, you need to take this one. That is to say, women, childbearing people, wider hips, you need to not narrow the base. That changes how the hips work, how the hip socket is connected. It's like if I put myself on a tightrope here, both my outer hips are getting more extension than the inner hip. The inner hip is closed. So if I open it up, I get the inner thighs running parallel. This is perhaps how you have to think about it, is you have to keep these inner thighs running parallel. You should stand up and try this for one moment and you'll see. Stand up, put your right foot forward, any foot, put your best foot forward. Take bricks, or a chair. Now, line your feet up like you're on a tightrope. And put both heels down. First of all, that's difficult. Okay. Now, just for, the experiment, back leg heel, the only thing you change is you turn it to put it down, to get that heel down. Don't move your toes, just turn the heel like we always turn the back foot out. Do that, put your heel down. Okay, now square the hips. Can you feel the inner thighs? People with, it's not a question of flesh touching flesh, it's a question of how you feel the inner hip. So absorb inner hip, outer hip sensation. Now move your right foot 2 inches to the right, only 2. Move your front foot 2 inches to the right, only 2. And rebalance the pose. Do you not feel how those groins, inner thighs get more parallel?
Yes.
Okay. So you can turn your left heel a little more to the right. That's like getting more standard into the pose. Okay. So in theory, your right heel lines up with your left heel. That's the theory. With the left foot turn and the groins more parallel. So look, if you were pregnant or if you had just a super large belly for whatever reason, you would move the feet apart until that pelvic region, the inner thighs, were parallel. That's your adjustment in the pose. If you have, and I'm not saying painful or bad or good, issues in the pelvis, you create space. If when you don't have issues, you keep your body, in the proper position, and then change sides, and then work to keep those hips square and the groins parallel and soft. So if you can make the experiment, line your feet up like you're on a tightrope, and then go towards the classical pose. Your right heel turns to ground, and your left foot leg moves left to get those groins parallel. Now, on the second side, notice also when you bring your feet into the tightrope alignment, this outer hip is more stretched, more open. And for many people with weakness in the outer hip, it's harder to tuck. So when you move your left leg to the left, go ahead, take it left into more proper pose. You should feel the outer thigh more easily angles and tucks into the socket. Outer leg pulls more straight from the pinky toe to the hip socket.
Thank you, Devon.
That's a complicated answer, but you see there's foot connections, heel connections, groin, outer hip connections.
Yeah.
Well, we really took care of Parshvottanasana. Stand up. And then kneel in Vajrasana, which is the pose that has your shins and ankles together. Look, have to back up. Shins and ankles together. Both shins, both ankles, both feet, both big toes together. Of course, a blanket if you need it. And I think it was Karen who, and the blanket under the shins. Same rule. So be like this for a while. Usually I make you work really hard at this, getting straight. Do that hard work for a moment or two, getting the heels as close together as possible. Then drop it all. Use gravity to hold position. Just settle. Not actively stretching the toes. Just settle. Settle the breath. Okay, so then well, this should be okay. Reach back with your right hand and catch your left big toe. And if I'm pulling out the big toe, you want to see if you can catch not just the big toe, but up at the base joint of the big toe. So you have a very good grip on that big toe. Left hand on the right knee. Bring yourself upright. Now, do some more connecting to both those feet. Your right hand is pulling your left foot off the floor. Put your foot back down. Both feet. Both hips in. You draw your spine up, move your elbows away from each other, and turn. Connect with the breath. Do not harden or limit the breath. If anything, take more penetrating exhalations. Release, come out. So again, the penetrating exhalations means connected. Where do they penetrate? They where you need them. Take your left hand, catch the right big toe. Sit up straight. Balance. Wake up your shins a little bit against the pull of that hand, and then begin turning. Both feet wake up, not just the one you're pulling on. Widen your elbows. Act as if your intent is to spread your back. Connect your exhalation to your feet. Next exhalation, connect to the ribs. Release, come out. Can you hold your feet and push your feet down and fold forward? So I'm holding the outer foot and I'm pulling up on it to keep the buttocks on the heels. And I push my foot back down away from the pull of the arms and I fold forward. Reach those feet. Find a way in this position to soften the breath, soften the abdomen. If you have pain in this pose, of course, you bring your hands forward and brace on the floor ahead of you to go forward. But if you can keep pulling on the heels and make your pose very fetal, very embryonic. Now soften up your breath into abdomen. Let your arms and legs hold the pose. Stop your belly holding the pose. Breathe penetratingly into the abdomen. Several breaths. Use the breath. I'm not saying do really funny things, but with your exhalation, there is a kind of manipulation of the abdominal organs just by means of using that exhalation, not trying to hold it, not retaining, no extra muscular anything, just the breath. Deeper inhalations, deeper exhalations, not in the sense of huge amounts of air, but in the sense of the spreading of the cells. Now, carefully, if you can stay holding the heels as you come up, do so. If you need the hands for outside external support, do. And sit up. Okay, lie flat. So, and have a strap. Now you've just been very folded up. So when you lie down with your strap, when you lie down, you may still feel a little bit folded up. So let yourself unfurl. And then stretch your legs. And you have a lovely example of how posture and breath interact. Body, breath interacting. Two different poses, this flat pose and that super folded pose. Okay, join your legs. Take Supta Padangusthasana just briefly. Raise up the right leg. Put the strap around your foot. Keep the leg vertical. Left leg stretching. Now put your attention in the extremities. And from that, just the right leg, yeah, left leg straight. And from that push and activation of the extremities, draw the thighs and the upper arms back to the sockets. Keep the inner body soft and unturbulent. Take the right leg to the right. You do this by connecting your breath into that leg, both legs. Supta Padangusthasana, lateral. The leg goes to the right. Keep the inner thigh soft. Keep that outer thigh firm. Keep the extremities active. And the sockets tucked. And the breath penetrating. Okay. You have trouble in the hip joint? Change your breathing. From the breathing, the senses change. From the senses changing, you can figure out where to act. Inhale, come up, connected. Bend the knee, take the strap up, stretch the leg, back on the floor. Use your breath to understand what you just did. You could, Gay, just turn around head to toe, and that would give you more room. Side two, bend up the knee, keep the other leg straight. Oh, keep the Ground leg straight. Uh-huh. Keep the connectivity to that foot on the floor. Stretch the right leg straight. Don't go lateral yet, Chaya. Make sure the extension is through to the extremity and the knee is straight. So you let out whatever slack you need on that strap to be able to straighten the arm and the leg. Spread the foot. Don't forget Parshvottanasana. Don't forget all that toe work, outer foot, inner foot, balance of the heel, stretch of the shin, drawing of the thigh. That action, you feel it's different when gravity isn't helping, when there's no ground. Go off to the left. Use that extremity. Chaya, are you suffering there? You have some pain in the hip.
Cramps. Cramps.
Oh, cramps. I don't know what to say except good luck. But do work. I will say, if it's unbearable, you come out, you relax.
Yeah.
But you have to get rid of that tendency completely or it'll come back.
Okay.
So you have two choices. You either get rid of it in the pose by correcting the action in the pose. And I guarantee you, you can get rid of a cramp if you fix the cause inside the pose, or you come completely out and get, undo all of that grip.
Okay.
Go. Full foot, full outer heel, Karen. Outer heel. Not extra, not supinating your foot, but stretch that outer foot from the heel. Lengthen the little toe side of that foot. Yeah. That's the will there. Yeah, Chaya, that's the will. You just fixed it with your will. Oh, don't get a cramp there. Keep fixing. And you, of course, you come up when you're cooked. And you come out. And bend your knees, roll to the side, come up sitting and set yourself up for, we've worked the legs very hard. So I think, let me see, is it Viparita Karani or is it Setubanta Sarvankasana? Maybe it's Viparita Karani because I haven't done it this week, so I'm just going to put. So get 2 or 3 blankets, a small stack. Square folded. Here's your shoulder stand blanket folded like a book. And I've got 1 or 2. You need a few inches high stack against the wall. Now, the idea is this depth of this blanket between the wall and the outer edge has to come up to your rib cage. So if you can see my proportion with the blanket here, This is coming up against my floating ribs, low ribs. It's not to my shoulder blade, but boy, it's not far. Not far. Buttocks to the wall. If your strap is handy, you can strap your calves together and the legs can relax more, not entirely, but much more. See that you are comfortable. If you are not high enough, the breath doesn't change much. The breath isn't inspired, so to speak, no pun intended, to come up into the top chest. Let those side ribs open with the breath. Throat soft. For some of us, there is a tendency to slightly lift the chin in this pose. In order to, however, slightly lift the chin, you need to tighten the back of the neck. So make a big point of letting go the muscles at the base of the skull. They need to be able to release away from the shoulders. So if it's not happening by itself, sometimes a roll blanket can help. Lifting the chest helps. Opening the waist helps. Tucking the shoulder blades helps. And more deeply, those are kind of physical body things. More deeply, the senses can cease to reach out. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, soft, settled. Face, settled. This is the nervous system settling, mind settling. Now again, the breath is an influencer here. It's a connector, and it is, you can use it to shift the balance of things a little bit. So by taking slower exhalations, might require you to take a little bit deeper inhalation, but by really becoming very smooth and soft and deep and steady, and even with the exhalation, not getting short of breath, just taking what that breath offers, you can soften the nerve, soften the mind. Again, look at the abdomen from pelvis to diaphragm. And as you're breathing, look at the interactions between that movement of the breath and the abdominal organs, digestive center. Which, not coincidentally, has a lot of nerves connected to it. Sensory nerves. So we can look at this abdomen in terms of its reactivity to the breath. And maybe you can relate this in your sensations. The abdominal region can be reactive to deeper inhalations or exhalations. But as it relaxes more profoundly, it gets less reactive. More space, more stability, even though that movement of the breath can be deeper, the organs don't react. The belly is a very reactive place if we are reactive. So use your breathing pattern to coax stability. Now, carefully come out of Viparita Karani. So push away from the wall so your spine comes to the floor. And you have choice here. You can back away enough to just rest cross-legged on those blankets. Or you can push away and lie flat. Now keep your hips all the way down. Sacrum and buttocks on the floor. If you will, be cross-legged. Get your spine flat and stable. And if you will, do Shavasana and stretch your legs, by all means, do. You don't have much time, but on the other hand, you're home. If the legs are crossed, change that crossing. Now it is time. I am happy to leave you as you are. Namaste. See you next time.